Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Rick back here with another video journey to £1 million, episode number 13. Like we've been going a lot now. And today I was just thinking of giving you a bit of a meatier one, a review of part of the financial education that I'm getting. And one thing I went to about a week or so ago is a property course. I was scrolling through Instagram one day when this thing kind of just popped up in front of me, like targeted at my area, and it was the guy Martin Roberts. Apparently, if you watch Homes Under the Hammer here in the UK, they look at they specialize in buying properties at auction and then doing stuff with them. And I've watched the show before, I've enjoyed it, and I thought, hey, let me take a look at this. Financial education is a really big part of my journey to £1 million. And if you're like building wealth, you need to get yourself educated. Don't be lazy. Understand what to do. This here is financial education, watching the series, watching these things, but like then go and dig deeper. Never let it just be like, oh, Rick told me to invest in this, so you just blindly go and do it. No, you should go and like investigate for yourself. I have a mentor and he has opinions about property, but you know what? After I listened to them and I accepted them, but I really went and looked at it. I've discussed it with friends. I've got a peer who's really into property, and I was just like thinking, oh, I need to go and check out these free courses. So what I go, it was free. As the truth, I went because it was free. Free education is always a good thing. I wanted to know what was out there for me to invest in. One of the episodes we did on this is saving to invest. So even though I'm saving just a little bit of money right now, but I have plans to invest it. So I think it's better if now I explore what are all my options of what to invest in. Other people's businesses, innovation, technology, but property is a big one. That's always one they talk about. It's one of those basics and staples that even parents will tell you, oh, get a house and blah blah blah. And I wanted to get underneath those generalities that we have about investing. So I went to look at property. Now, I do understand that I'm not going to become a property mogul in the next year or two, which is what the guy there was trying to sell us. Just because I understand the caveat that is there, which is that if you do want to make really big money in property in a year, 2-3 years, you need to actually treat it as a business. You've got to be like a professional property investor. I'll be using that word a lot. PPI, professional property investor, not payment protection insurance. So I understand that I probably won't be like that because I have a calling. I have found my calling in life. I'm in the process of refining it and developing it, and my calling is not property. It's not to be a landlord, a property landlord. That's not my thing. I just don't have the time. I'm spending all my time investing in my writing, my thinking, my mind, some of the social media stuff, education. So, when you know your lane, you won't get swept by the excitement, because there's a lot of excitement. When this guy was talking, there was a lot of excitement, but I didn't get swept up in it. And also, I've been to a couple of these meetings, and anybody who's been to a property, go to one. If you see a free property investment meeting, go to it. There are loads in the UK. I'm pretty sure there's loads where you live as well, because everybody's trying to do property. Go attend it. If it's free, go attend it. Now, I've been to a few, so I know the whole song and dance that you have to do there. To me, it was pleasant. It was pleasant being there. I got value for my 2 hours there. But I also knew that the reason why it's free is because they're there to try and sell you on a more expensive, like a £2,000 course. In my particular example, there was a £2,000 course that they were going to sell us, and they say, oh yeah, we're going to reduce it to you to like 1,000, and you can bring someone else, so it's going to be two for £1,000, so it's actually going to be 500 per person. Yeah, right. I know. And maybe in the future that would be something I could invest in, because I really like the scenario there, and I wanted to meet some of the other people who are professional investors, because I think that's where the value is for me. Because I don't want to actually just be making deals in property. I want to more invest in the people who make deals, but I'll talk more about that later. So I like the fact that they were upfront about the fact that they were going to sell us that £2,000 course at the end. There was no, the guy was actually quite upfront about it. I thought that was refreshing. It wasn't a trick you kind of like mentality, because I know those where like you're invited to something and then they trick you. They trick you. So, I had a couple of useful things that I learned, and this is kind of what I wanted to focus on with the rest of this video. Just some of the most useful things and tips that I found from them. So number one, I've realized, and I found out that if you really want to make money in property, you've got to have quite a number of properties. Like literally, you need to have about 10 or more properties in order to make anything substantial, anything good happen, like with money. Okay, so 90%, over 90% of people in the United Kingdom who own property own either one or two properties. Now that's a bit obvious, because if you think about it, like, most homeowners in the UK have one house, so that's their house. You've got a few of us who will then have one house that we live in, and then another house that we've bought for investment. Maybe after watching something like a show like Homes Under the Hammer or something like this. But this is not professional. And to be honest with you guys, the small amount of money you get from that really is not worth all the hassle that you have. Because let's put it this way, all right, let's look at it logically. If you've got, so for a lot of us, we're taught that, hey, you know what, get your property, get one house, get your property, and, you, at least number one, you're not paying anybody any rent, so, you're making money. And then they tell you that, oh yeah, but if property goes up and up and up, then, you'll get to a point where you can sell it and you'll make money on that. Now, when you think about it logically, guys, it's so, the wealth is in the house and you're living in it. So it's not really your wealth. Equity is not really your wealth, because that's what it's called. The wealth that's in your house is called equity, and it's not really cash that you can do something with unless you actually release it to some kind of loan. But most of us just release that money so that we can buy a car, buy liabilities, live a better life, go on holiday. We don't really do it so that we can start a business. Now, if you were going to release £10,000 out of your house so that you can start a business, that's different. Yeah, you're really making it happen. But for most of us, that's not the case. Now, for those who are like single-hand landlords of one or two houses, here's the issue that you have there. It's okay, say you put a family in your house and you're making, I don't know, let's say £300 a month in rent from them. But then what tends to happen with that case is that a lot of those people, you are the maintenance man for that property. You're the one who's the real estate agent. You're the one finding, putting ads for tenants and everything. So it actually ends up taking a lot of your time. So yes, you're getting some money, which just about covers the mortgage for the place. And then really the rest of the time you're just managing it. If their boiler breaks down, they're calling you, you gotta go fix it and everything. And that's not how to deal with it as a professional. So, when you just have loads of stresses and loads of stresses. By the way, if you really are enjoying this video and you're liking this series, make sure to like the page, make sure to like my page, and you'll get more of our videos. If you're really wanting to make money with this, guys, the stat that I was seeing, that interesting statistic there, was that only 1% of UK property owners have 10 or more properties. And these are the 1% that really make true money out of this thing. They're the ones who are treating it like a business. So the second thing I learned out there was that you've got to use other people's money if you're going to make anything substantial in property. So I was just talking that you need to have a lot of properties. Now, the main reason why we all have, the people who have properties just have one or two, is because it's expensive. You can't just pick up £250,000 to buy a house out of nowhere. No, it's expensive. So what we are trying to do is we are taught, all right, go save your deposit, which is about 10 or 20% of the house, and then put the rest on a mortgage with a high street bank. And what does this do? All it does is that you mortgage away 30 or 40 years of your life, and you end up with only one house. You can then swap it and then get another one, but it's always only one house. But that's because you're trying to do it with your money. You will never have enough money personally, especially while you're here, to do anything substantial with money. And then if you're going to be having 10 plus properties, why just have your money in there? You're now risking all your liquid cash. If something catastrophic happens, you're risking everything. But if you understand how to use other people's money, you can do this. Now don't do this as a scam kind of thing. There are a lot of people who want you to use their money. They don't have the time to go out and look for deals, so they would rather you go out, look for deals, and then you come back and give them a little return. There are private investors you can use. There are special loans that are called bridging loans, where they loan you the money based on your deal and not based on your credit history or anything like that, or whatever you have. What they do is they just give you based on the deal you found. There are loads of ways you can do this. You can use credit cards, good credit. These are one of the only good ways to use a credit card when you are doing it for a business rather than just for consumer debt. So do it. Use other people's money. Don't be afraid to go out there and find creative financing ideas, creative finance, where you can go, all right, I can jig things together. Maybe buy something with both a credit card and a bridging loan, to make things happen. So use other people's money. Big tip there, I learned. The other thing I learned, which is a big one, was that there's a hierarchy to the profitability of properties. Let's take the rental market, for example. So you're buying property so that you can rent it and make money that way from renting it out. There's a hierarchy of different ways to make money, and if you're not careful, you can end up at the bottom where there's loads of people who do it, and the money that you're getting from that is not that much. By this I mean buy to let, which is the usual, which is you go out, you buy a property, and then you put in a family. That family is paying you £400 a month. I don't know. The average income there for buy to let property is about £200 to £400 a month in the UK. But again, you have the stresses of managing that place and whatever. Now, if you go up, another thing you can do, there's a type of ownership of property where you're providing social housing. So this is where your property, instead of you finding the tenants and you doing everything, you go to a council that is in need, and there's a lot of people on council waiting lists out there. You go out there, you hand your property over to the council. Let's say you have a deal 5 years, and the city council says, all right, for these 5 years, we will give you a guaranteed rental. They deal with the tenants, so the tenant probably doesn't even know that you're the one who owns the house. They think it's a council house, and you kept giving your money. So number one, whether there's a tenant or not, you're being paid. Number two, you don't have to deal with the stresses or manage the place. The council is the one who goes and fixes stuff. And also, another thing there is that the council is going to take, they agree that they're going to give you back your house either in a better condition or the same condition that they took it in. So for 5 years, your house, there's no risk of your house. If let's say your tenants damage the house, there's not much risk. So social housing is a big one. And also don't forget that you're actually doing a service to the community when you can give your properties for social housing. So I liked that one. That was a big one. Now there are also conversions that people do, either multi-let conversions or commercial to domestic conversions, where people are buying pubs. Pubs are going bankrupt in the UK at an alarming rate right now. People are buying old pubs and then turning it into a house for students. So one house with many rooms, maybe ensuite rooms for students, for professionals, whatever. And then so turning that one thing into then something that is you can have multiple incomes from that. So now, opposed to, let's say, that first buy to let where I said you're renting it to one family and they're paying you £300 to £400, here you're doing maybe 5-6 students in there who are each paying you £200. So you end up making like £1,000 on that same place. That is such a better way of doing things. Also, now there's a thing about planning permission. You'll need to get planning permission. But a trick to do this is to make sure you're converting it into affordable houses. Councils will almost always give you planning permission if this is what you're planning to do. So you got to think about it. That's why you need to get educated. Go to a property course. If you're gonna think about forex, go to a forex course. Don't just take someone's idea for someone's word for it. Okay, so what's the most profitable thing with the profitable potential that you have in property is land development. So let's say you're buying a golf course or something like that, and then turning it into a resort and things like that. These are really, really good ones, but that's a big one. I'm not going to talk about that here. It's a big one. Go look for it. Go get educated. The last useful tip I found was that, the most successful people in property, they build a team, a power team around them. So, I've talked a lot. There's a lot of things I've talked about here. And maybe your strengths is not in all those things. So you need people who are going to come around you and support your strengths and kind of cover your weaknesses. So you're going to need lawyers. There's a lot of legal, landmines in property. It's ridiculous. There's so many things that, you may not know. You may know, you may not know, the planning permission stuff and that. So if you have a good lawyer, someone you trust who knows how to just go over all your stuff, that's a good thing to have. Maybe you're the lawyer, so you need the other people in there. You need agents. You need a management agent who will manage your property for you. You need, if you're going to be converting, which is, if you're going to be buying at auction, for example, so buying cheaper properties, you're going to need people who can come in and convert. But that's contractors that you need to trust, contractors who can do stuff on time and on budget. That's a team that you're building around you. You're building, relationships with investors. Maybe you have 4 or 5 different types of investors that are around you. You've built good relationships with them by bringing them good deals that have returns, and you deliver. They get their returns. They're more likely, let's say someone gives you 70 grand in a first deal, and in 6 months you give them back 75 or 80 grand. Then, when you find another deal, that person is going to be willing to give you 85 grand, to give you 100 grand. So you build a relationship with investors and everything like that. You also need mentors. I was struck with the fact that you're going to need mentors for this, because if you're going to be going up and investing in different things, you do need people who have done it. Don't just take Rick's word for it. I haven't invested in property. So yes, I've learned about this thing now, but I'm not your mentor. You need to find a mentor who has done it, because the pressures of when you have bought I don't know, it's a £5 million golf course and you're trying to convert it. Those pressures are ridiculous. You're going to need someone who has walked those roads, who can kind of just help you go along. And I think I found that there's a lot of camaraderie with the people in that industry, where they are really, really willing to help each other out. So, that's one thing you'll find. So what's my verdict? My overall verdict with all this is, property is quite interesting. I found it very, very interesting. And, but you got to go in with real commitment. I like the property industry, but you got to go in with real commitment. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. Don't be deceived. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. In fact, property will actually not make you a lot of money to start with. So, a lot of people who are listening to this, and maybe you have a small income, don't go into property just yet. I'm not going to go into it anytime soon, because it's a long-term kind of thing. It's a very stable thing. So it's a very long term. If you want results good, if you only have 100 quid to invest, no, don't do it in property. Don't do it in property. You have to put in the work for it. But I found that with time, it's definitely something I will invest in, because I'm planning on doing some investments in business and stuff like that, which is much more high risk. But once you get some money from that, as you diversify your portfolio, I want to put some of my money into things that are a little bit less risky. So property is definitely one thing I'll be doing. I want to be one of those private investors where people who are going out and finding deals come to me and say, hey Rick, can you give us 100 grand, and in 6 months we'll come back with 110 grand for you. I think that's a really good thing. I just do this with them. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. I enjoyed making it. The course was really enjoyable. If you really, I make videos, I make these, I write articles about this all the time. So make sure you like this video, like the page, and make sure you get notified when I release a new one. So you guys have a great day and a great weekend. I'll see you later. Bye.